Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Sabah Khan and today we will be learning about clinical pharmacokinetics and its applications. In clinical pharmacokinetics and its application, we will discuss about its introduction, then conversion from intravenous infusion to oral dosing, dose determination, frequency determination for drug administration, then we will talk about dose and dose interval determination, route of administration determination and individualization of dose. In the end, we will be learning how drug dosage is designed for pediatric population and for geriatric population. Then we will also learn how drug dosage is designed for obese population, dose adjustment in renal failure. Then we will talk about therapeutic drug monitoring, which is a crucial part of clinical pharmacokinetics. In therapeutic drug monitoring, we will be learning about its goal, when it is applied, its limitation, its function and error possibilities while taking therapeutic drug monitoring or TDM. Then in the end, we will be discussing about the process to decide dose with TDM and the therapeutic ranges for certain drugs which require TDM. Then in the end, we will also discuss about the indications for TDM with respect to individual therapeutic condition. When it comes to individualize the dosage regimen for any subject, pharmacokinetic parameters of the drug are used. It has applicability in clinical setting. Basically, thus it helps in developing the most effective drug therapy. So this is the primary application of pharmacokinetic which comes into play and is termed as clinical pharmacokinetics. This process encompasses scheming of dosage regimen which comprises of its dose, route of administration, dosing interval and frequency, dosage adjustments as and when required depending on the serum concentration of the drug. There are many other factors which are included in developing a dosage regimen for any subject. It also includes diagnostic examination in order to determine patient compliance. The other associated reasons for which it is performed includes the following: unexpected drug responses, drug interactions, medication errors, problems associated to bioavailability of drugs, presence of active metabolites, pharmacogenetic factors, ADME, that is absorption, distribution, metabolism and elimination profile of the drug. So next is conversion from intravenous infusion to oral dosing. When the patient's condition has improved post intravenous infusion, it is often appropriate to start the patient with the same oral dose. So once the intravenous infusion stops, the exponential decrease in serum concentration follows a first order mechanism. So if consequently the oral dosage regimen is started, it will cause an exponential increase in the serum concentration, maintaining the amount of drug required by the patient. Method 1 is assuming patient's drug concentration at steady state to be CSS post IV infusion. This CSS is similar to desired C average after multiple oral dosing. Therefore, C average is given by the equation as displayed on the screen. Dosing interval can be determined by the formula given in equation, where S is salt form of the drug, F is bioavailability factor, tau is dosing interval, C average is average plasma drug concentration, Ke is elimination rate constant, Bd is apparent volume of distribution and D naught is dose. And in method 2, we assume that the rate of intravenous infusion is same as the rate of oral dose. Now next is how to determine the dose or dose determination. The dose of the drug is determined in order to provide desirous therapeutic level of the drug to the body and get adequate effect from it. However, in case of multiple dosing of any therapeutic agent for a prolonged time, the dosage regimen is evaluated to find out the steady state blood level which would be in the therapeutic range. The formula employed for its determination is given by equation where F is the fraction of drug absorbed, taking the value of F as 1 for intravenous administration. T half is the elimination half-life of the drug. Next is frequency determination for drug administration. The frequency of drug dosing depends on the dosing interval and the size of the dose. The larger the frequency of drug administration, smaller is the dose. As the dosing interval increases, the size of the dose also increases since the amount of drug required to maintain the plasma concentration also increases subsequently. However, if the dosing interval is tremendously extended, then the large dose administered might even lead to toxic drug concentration even if C average is same as in the previous case. So generally dosing interval in most cases is determined using elimination half-life. However, drugs having low toxicity profile and large therapeutic index could be administered at large time interval that is more than their elimination half-life. Whereas, on the contrary, drugs with narrow therapeutic index should be given at frequent intervals to avoid any fluctuation in blood serum concentration which could probably lead to toxic effects. So next is dose and dosage interval determination. The dose is calculated in such a manner that the serum concentration of the drug lies in the range of Cmax and Cminimum. Thus, for intravenous multiple dosage regimen, the ratio of Cmax to Cminimum could be simplified as mentioned in equation. From this, tau could be calculation which is the dosing interval. From the dosing interval, dose could be easily calculated. So next important consideration is how to determine the route of drug administration. Here, selection of proper route of administration is a prerequisite for any drug therapy. So both the duration of action and the rate of drug absorption is the subjective to the route of administration. However, there are certain physiological conditions which affect the route of administration to be selected. For instance, certain therapeutic agents have extensive hepatic metabolism or are degraded by proteolytic enzymes such as insulin, hence they are not suitable for oral administration. Whereas intravenous administration is considered to be the fast and most reliable route of administration. Since the drug is rapidly eliminated, it is removed from the body immediately after administration, hence more frequent dosing is required. Drugs which are given by extravascular route should be absorbed in the bloodstream and the drug thus absorbed is eliminated slowly. Thus, route of administration should be such that it can decrease the frequency of dosing by providing a sustained release. To add on, there are few drugs which should not be given via intramuscular route since they cause unpredictable drug release profile, pain or injection site issues. Although drug is administered in the muscles, it should reach the systemic circulation for the drug to show its effect. Therefore, in a nutshell, the route which can provide consistent bioavailability should be used in order to maximize the drug therapeutic effect. Next topic is individualization of drug dosing. Drug dosage design is basically done depending on population data. However, inter-subject variability occurs wherein different doses are required by different individuals based on the pharmacological response produced. Pharmacokinetic variability occurs owing to differences in drug concentration at various sites of action based on drug's absorption, distribution, biotransformation and excretion profile. Whereas in pharmacodynamic variability, pharmacological response changes at a given dose for a respective individual. Next is drug dosage design for pediatric population. So while deciding the dose for infants who are in the range of 0 to 2 years, the difference in the infant and adult dose and the pharmacodynamics and pharmacokinetic of drug is also considered. Although oxidative process is developed in infant, they do lack the conjugative enzymes. Moreover, few drugs differ in their protein binding ability in infants. To add on, Renal function in infants is also reduced to about 30 to 40% than in adults. Therefore, drugs exhibiting renal excretion will have high elimination half-life in infants. Alternatively, route of administration might also be changed in case of pediatric population. Therefore, dosage of drugs should be designed according to the pharmacokinetic profile of the drug. There are a number of empirical formulae that are available for such calculations. First is Clark's rule. In Clark's rule, child dose is calculated by multiplying the weight into adult dose, which is divided by 150. Similarly, Young's rule for child dose calculation, Fried's rule are given for calculation of the dose for pediatric formulations. Next important topic is drug dosage design for geriatric population. The physiological conditions greatly affect the fate of the drug in geriatric population. The body composition is also modified to a certain extent, which adds to the change. Presence of increased fatty tissues, slowed metabolic process, decreased drug plasma protein binding, cardiac output modified, decreased blood perfusion in the gastrointestinal region, change in receptor sensitivity are some of the evident changes that occur and thus alter the volume of distribution of the drugs. Glomerular filtration rate is also decreased, leading to buildup of drug in body owing to increased elimination half-lives. Therefore, it is reported that drugs stimulate higher rate of side effects in geriatric population. Performance capacity and loss of homeostatic reserve coupled with physiological and cognitive functional changes are associated with aging. Moreover, the concomitant illness and multiple drug therapy might lead to patient non-compliance owing to complicated dosage regimen, high medication cost, which ultimately results in lack of drug efficacy and possible drug interaction. Hence, dose calculation in such cases is done on the basis of creatinine clearance. The decrease in creatinine clearance is estimated to calculate the decreased dose required to produce similar therapeutic effect. Next is drug dosage design for obese population. The obese patients have in them a large accumulation of fat or adipose tissue, which leads to the increase in total body weight by 20% from the ideal condition. These patients have small proportion of total body water in relation to total body weight, which greatly affects the apparent volume of distribution. In addition to it, the greater accumulation of fat in body could also affect the pharmacokinetic profile of the drug by changing the distributional pattern between the lipid and aqueous surroundings. So, polar drugs tend to distribute more in the aqueous environment, while vice versa for the non-polar drugs. Other pharmacokinetic parameters are also affected owing to the physiologic alterations such as severe changes associated renal excretion and fatty infiltration of the liver. Next important topic is dose adjustment in renal failure. Creatinine clearance and serum creatinine, these are the two markers that are used to determine renal function. However, it is difficult to determine creatinine clearance as it needs urine to be collected for 24 hours. Therefore, serum creatinine levels are used to determine renal function more oftenly. Equation describes the calculation of dose in renal failure where Cc is serum creatinine concentration, PR is production rate of creatinine, A is proportionality constant and KNR is rate constant for non-renal excretion. Moreover, patients' age, gender and body weight also play a significant role in determining the production rate of clearance, which can be seen or described in equation. Maintenance dose can also be calculated by equation where X0 is maintenance dose, C is steady state plasma drug concentration, CLCR is creatinine clearance, tau is dosing interval and F is fraction of drug absorbed. Now what is hemodialysis? as we all know that it is used in renal failure, thus result in loss of drug from the body requiring an additional dose adjustment. Next important topic is therapeutic drug monitoring or TDM. Therapeutic drug monitoring is established for the evaluation of patient's response to that of established dosage regimen. In relation to the administration of potent drugs to patient, the drug concentration is always maintained within a narrow therapeutic window. The dosage regimen is designed taking into consideration the established pharmacokinetic profile of the drug coupled with patient's medical history and disease condition. So we can see a figure in which therapeutic window is described. So therapeutic window is the area between minimum effective concentration for adverse response and drug minimum effective concentration for desired response. So therapeutic drug monitoring aims to promote optimum drug treatment by maintaining serum drug concentration within a therapeutic range. Therefore, we can say that goal of TDM is to tailor the drug dose and serum concentration to suit any particular individual so that desired pharmacological effect could be obtained, thereby minimizing the drug side effects. Now, this is important to know when TDM is more important. So for drugs having narrow therapeutic window, for drugs having high first pass metabolism, when large variability in pharmacokinetic profile among patients is there, then therapeutic drug monitoring plays a very crucial role. Also, when there is a direct relationship exists between the desired therapeutic effect and drug concentration in different biological fluids, when accessibility of therapeutic effect poses a problem, and in cases where clinical symptoms are to be circumvented. In cases when analytical method for drug detection is easily available or when the desired therapeutic effect could not be observed, then therapeutic drug monitoring plays an important role. Also, due to patient's renal state which might be altered or variable, and in cases where intersubject variability exists within a particular dose. So here in these cases, therapeutic drug monitoring is crucial. There are also some limitations of therapeutic drug monitoring which include in conditions when precise therapeutic plasma concentration range does not exist, when consequences associated with too high or too low drug level is not known, when the therapeutic toxic effect could be observed even at very low therapeutic drug level which was not previously known, and when pharmacologically active metabolite is formed which hamper the evaluation process and affects the desired therapeutic drug concentration. So in these cases, the use of TDM is limited or restricted. Now the functions of TDM services, the vital role TDM plays in drug selection, dosage regimen design, patient's response to therapy, measuring the serum drug concentration, drug analysis, pharmacokinetic analysis of samples, dosage regimen modification, monitoring drug serum concentration. In all these areas, TDM function is very crucial and important. Now there are also error possibilities in therapeutic drug monitoring which include not taking into consideration drug interaction or if the patient is using other concomitant medications, hypothesizing that the patient is in steady state, assuming that the patient has started taking the prescribed drug and is following the recommended dosage regimen, not taking into consideration other factors which might affect the drug clearance, thus not aware of the actual drug concentration. Also, when there is no relationship which could be established between the drug concentration and dose administration, then there is a possibility of error in therapeutic drug monitoring. This slide describes the process to decide dose with therapeutic drug monitoring. So as we can see, firstly the diagnosis of disease is made, then drug is selected based on the diagnosis, then dosage schedule is designed to reach a target plasma concentration, then drug is administered, then there could be two cases. Firstly, patient assessment are performed and secondly, drug concentration are determined. Finally, a pharmacokinetic model is applied and clinical judgment is used. However, if dosage adjustment is necessary, then dosage schedule is designed again to reach target plasma concentration. This is the process which has described that how dose is decided in therapeutic drug monitoring. This table describes the therapeutic ranges of certain drugs which require therapeutic drug monitoring. So we can see the dosage range or therapeutic window of digoxin, lidocaine, lithium, phenobarbital, phenytoin, quinidine and theophylline. In the current module, what all we have learnt is we have learnt in clinical pharmacokinetics and its application about the conversion from intravenous infusion to oral dosing. We have learnt about the dose determination. We have also learned about the frequency determination for drug administration, dose and dosage interval determination. We have learned how to determine the route of administration of drugs, individualization of dose. More importantly, we have focused in this module on the pediatric population dosage calculation. We have learned about the dose calculation for geriatric population, what all the factors that we can consider for these calculations. Then, more importantly, we have learned about therapeutic drug monitoring, about its goal, its function, its limitation, error possibilities, and the indications when TDM or therapeutic drug monitoring is applied. Thank you.